Peace. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I am Sir Foul Player of Brooklyn, coming at you with this evening stream um, regarding the Senate hearing that transpired earlier this morning, um, which was enacted by Senator Rand Paul. I think he's from Kentucky, and he called Anthony Fauci to come to testify before the Senate. And if you guys don't know as to why this happened, because it's not the first time that Anthony Fauci has testified on the Hill. Um, the reason why this is happening, or even before I get to explaining why this is happening, um, in past instances in which Anthony Fauci was ordered to testify on the Hill, he was a lot more candid, a lot more willing to give responses, even a little bit contentious, but fast forward to here recently, I think I found out this past weekend, or it was released this past weekend, that there were journals that were released which were written on government computers, and it's stating a lot of the things that Anthony Fauci was recording on his day to day, like keeping like a personal journal, a personal diary, around the time of the COVID outbreak. Pardon me, guys. And a lot of these diaries. Sorry about that. I had to look for my pajamas. A lot of these diaries that were released were written on a government computer, so the people from the Senate had access to these government records that were written by Anthony Fauci. But he's detailing stuff that his personal thoughts during, the lockdown, while he was um, overseeing the vaccine mandates, and a lot of the stuff that he's journaling is contrary to what he was suggesting that the American people should be doing during the COVID era. And also a lot of the stuff in the journal is basically, I mean, Anthony Fauci is a big time bullshitter. I mean, a lot of what he's saying is outright lies. Um, and he's also an egomaniac. Like, he's keeping tabs of the times that he has to have these press briefings or interactions with the media, and he's looking forward to it. I mean, I think he's like kind of like hyping himself up because I think he was under the impression that he was going to get a Nobel Peace Prize in one of the entries in his journal. Um, but it's a lot of things, and that were, not to say that I've looked through everything in there. Like, a lot of the stuff that I have looked through thus far has been, small excerpts that other people who have more time than me have looked through, and noted how much of a psychopath this man is. Like, how much of an egomaniac, um, and in spite, and I have that opinion of him just because of the many times that he contradicted himself during the COVID era, and how many times he said one thing and then suggested something else, and then every time that he would suggest something that the American people should do, it was a lot more onerous, a lot more restrictive, a lot more, really locking down rather than existing type of lifestyle. Like, and that's the thing too. I mean, like, a lot of people, when it comes to talking about these things that happened in the last administration, in the Biden administration, most people want to get to, or try to downplay it as, oh, well, just move on, like, why are you still talking about that? But I talk about these things, one, Because under another Democratic president, I mean, if some other like variation of a flu happens, I mean, they're gonna try the same stuff, like, and maybe even worse. I mean, they may try even worse things. And secondly, it didn't happen that long ago. I mean, like the COVID era was a half a decade ago, but it was one of the most pivotal times of my life. And a lot of people are in the same boat as me. I mean, like I never saw that much craziness happen from the COVID era, even up until up till now. Like, I mean, life has completely changed for many people. You know, we went from, I mean, people barely even talk to each other on the phone anymore since the COVID era. You know, to be frank, like most people got really acclimated to living indoors. A lot of people had a hard time readjusting to life in the actual workplace rather than working from home. Um, a lot of people, you know, really didn't adjust well to acclimating to life in general, even outside of work. Like after the COVID era, you know, many people like during the COVID era felt really righteous wearing masks and screaming on other people for not wearing masks, and you know they became sort of a secret police, like when the chips were down, when the man told them to, like, you know uh snitch on their neighbors for having gatherings. I mean, they were more than many people were more than willing to do such a thing. And again, like, I mean, I find myself at times, like, in contention with people that are at a constant like anti-Trump rhetoric, or these anti-Trump talking points that they hear in the mainstream media. I find myself, many times, especially here on YouTube, in contention with a lot of these types of content creators or panelists, whatever have you, because there's so many of them. I mean, and they're so like outspoken, if you will. Like, even if they run, even if they don't know the truth, like they're still like extremely outspoken, extremely volatile. But also too, going back to the COVID era, I mean, like that was like many things, like many issues, like there were tribal stances when it came to that. Most people that are like, by giving today's example, like most people that are somewhat more conservative, like are probably more um pro agreeing with deportations. I mean, like most people that are like kind of like conservative tinged will say, like, if there's a criminal like that's a illegal immigrant and he committed a crime, then he should be deported. Where like a tribalized counter argument to that, like what you see in liberal circles, like here in 2026, is that um nobody should be deported. Like a lot of liberals feel that way. Like, I'm anti ICE. Like, so if they see ICE, they're not gonna say, "Who are you deporting?" Like, let us see, like, who you're taking. Like they don't care if it's a rapist or somebody who's killed somebody. They're not gonna wait for like an explanation as to who ICE is trying to extract. Not that they merit any sort of explanation from a ICE agent or anything like that. But the tribalized stances that have only reinforced themselves, like far more since the COVID era. You know, but during the COVID era, one tribalized stance was that if you were anti any, like if you were saying that Dr. Fauci is a bullshit artist, during the COVID era, then you like somebody's like natural response, or that I've had thrown in my direction. Oh, you want to see one of these conspiracy theorists, like these pro right, like, January 6th, like that, just stupid shit. Um, Give me a second. So much in the way that I see a lot of people, um, who at times like, all right, boys, I want a show right now. Pardon self, guys. Pardon self. Yeah, I'm trying to check my audio on YouTube by using my TV, but my TV is like very slow reacting, and it was actually playing an episode of Survivor. It looks like a show that I've never watched, not even one time. Um, Going back to what I was saying though, a lot of tribalism, when it came to even anything to do with COVID stances, there were just lines drawn in the sand. Like if you didn't want to take the jab, then people kind of like automatically pigeonholed you as being some sort of you know Trump supporter, like or anti-science. Like it was one of the terms I've heard out there. And again, I mean, like Fauci was one of the main people purporting a lot of um, lies during this time, especially from what we know now. And I thought a lot of what he was saying, during the COVID era were lies, but unfortunately, much of what was happening during the COVID era, again, like as much as many people want to move on. I mean, it seems like most of the people that want to move on from, speaking about when Democrats are actually in power, how little they get accomplished, but also in this last administration, how much harm they actually do to the country. I mean, like I find myself many times, on people commenting on my own channel or the panels that I go on to, when you bring up the Biden administration, when you bring up, COVID, like a lot of natural responses are, well, you're still talking about COVID. But these are the same kind of people that were, suggesting that, people shouldn't be allowed to shop if they don't take the jab, that Fauci was suggesting. These are the same people that were, I remember like there were candles that were made for Fauci, like sort of how you would see like Hispanic people have these candles with illustration of the Virgin Mary or Jesus on it. There were also people that, I mean, and maybe it was tongue in cheek, but there were people that were creating things like that for Anthony Fauci, and I've seen them in person. Now, if you were to see, like, I mean, as much as people will tell you that MAGA is some sort of cult, um, you know, I've never seen something like that, especially in the wild. Um, like I have things like that for like Anthony Fauci. Anthony Fauci was as close to a deity to the liberal left lunatics of America than any, even more so than Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, any sort of political figure. Like Anthony Fauci was kind of like idolized by the liberal left lunatics, by the highly virtuous liberal left just a couple of years ago. But when you try to talk about Anthony Fauci, in 2026, these same kind of people will front on you and try to make it seem like talking about um these people that make the left look bad, how much of it is, I mean, they want you to move on from that conversation. These same kind of people, like, will want you to um want to bring up like January 6th at every turn. I mean, I see that on the mainstream media just as much as I see it on oh, I didn't even put the link out there. I mean, it's not like I have many people listen to me as we speak, but um let me copy the link. Again, like, I mean, not many times do I get to do open panels, but I'm probably at the end of my StreamYard allowance for the month, and I just found out yesterday that you can actually get like 20 hours for the month. Thought you get like 2 or 3, but I'm gonna try to use as much of it as I can these next couple days, before the month of July elapses. But again, with the shits today, I mean, like, and a lot of people are really scared, like, ultimately, like, when it comes to having to defend these people that the liberal left lunatics, the Democrats, idolized, you know, a handful of months ago. I mean, like, the Fauci was still being dick jocked by a lot of these same people, that the same people that will tell you to move on and don't speak about the past administration, the same people that bring up January 6th, the one negative talking point against Trump, or they'll tell you, or now they want to remix history and tell you that Trump was the one pushing mandates, or Trump was the one locking down the country, the economy. Like, I, you know, will happily contend against a lot of these talking points. Again, if you're not a pussy and you want to pull up, like, and have a little discourse, the link is there. Um, I'll put it in the chat again. The advent of technology, but if you guys didn't get to catch the actual Anthony Fauci hearing this morning, I did. The biggest news is that Anthony Fauci pled the fifth throughout the hearing, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, what do you expect him to do?" Like, he should plead the fifth, and um, I'm not contending against that. But two things: one, Anthony Fauci, if you guys don't remember, was pardoned by the Biden administration, and this was a pardon that actually reached back 10 years. So 10 years, um, be like, from 2014 to 2024. So, having a blanket pardon like that, if you recount what you did, like, during that time in which you were already pardoned, you ain't gonna get in trouble. Granted, like, I mean, like, if the shoe were on the other foot, or if it was me on there, like, I'd also plead the fifth. So I'm not gonna crash too hard on that. But what I will crash down on, what I will contend against, is that Anthony Fauci was just as boisterous, like, or as you was super boisterous and contentious in his last Senate hearing and congressional hearings. And these are even ones that happened once Trump got in office. I mean, he was more than happy to um, be getting catty with the people on the Capitol Hill. Still making some public appearances, and getting his shit stroked by the liberal left media. But now, I mean, like, you'll probably see the end of Anthony Fauci in terms of having some sort of public fake persona. Um, he's already made his millions. I think he's 84, 85 years old at this current juncture. Um, he aged significantly from as far as his appearance goes, like on the Hill today. But the most significant thing that could be reported by me was the fact that Anthony Fauci pled the fifth to every question that was asked of him. They wanted to do some sort of mic drop moment. His attorney was told that he couldn't be at the front desk advising Anthony Fauci, like, um, but he was sitting beside him, and when Anthony Fauci made his opening statement and basically said that he would be pleading the fifth, um, his attorney tried to make some sort of counter statement, and they gave him the boot. I just saw that video a couple minutes ago because you couldn't hear much of what was happening or see what was happening when he had that interaction between the person who was running the hearing, which was Rand Paul, and he was getting into the ass of Anthony Fauci's attorney. Like, when I was listening to it live, you couldn't see anything but Rand Paul seeing as Anthony Fauci wasn't answering questions. And I just saw the clips of that a couple minutes ago. But I did get to hear much of what was said. I mean, the probably second biggest thing that happened in this hearing is the fact that they're looking to, I don't know if it's like pressing charges against them or um, basically saying that the fact that that they're going to have another hearing regarding whether having a blanket pardon um, is reason enough to not to be subpoenaed by the Senate and plead the fifth for every question that they ask of you. So hopefully, I mean, he does get in trouble behind it. Um, his last hearing in Congress or in the Senate, wherever have you, was outright lies many times because, again, like I mean, like his journal or that was released this past weekend contradicts much of what the answers that he gave on the Senate contradicts all this advice that he was giving in the mainstream media when he was. I mean, like, come on, guys, like you got to stop fronting like you don't remember the COVID era that we all lived through, that we all had to endure. I mean, a lot of people like the COVID era, to be frank. A lot of people, like, who are naturally losers, who always stay indoors, had a chance to, I mean, or who are ugly people, like a lot of people that are hyper liberal, blue head types, and, they're just, or confused about gender type people. These are people that are just, many instances, just ugly. Um, and these people when it came down to interacting with the public, I mean, these people that were more than happy to cover their ugly mugs with the mask were who were dorks in every other interaction they had, whether that be at work, school, were very happy to be the authority and scream on people in public, like for not having a mask or for not practicing social distance. Give me a second. I want to see who's texting me. These same people that already lived the life of hermitage or hermitry, um, that don't go out of the house that often because they really don't have friends in real life or they were picked on in school. Then they became the poster children for the COVIDians, like they became the people that were doing the right thing, like whereas and any other time in human history, the people that stay indoors are either bookworms or dorks. Like people that stay indoors because of anything but some sort of physical handicap were always looked at as weird. Like the people that don't seek out the presence of the sun. But under the COVID era, these people were got to become hall monitors in most cases. Like when they got to espouse their virtue by wearing these useless masks, and these are useless masks not because I say so, even though I did have that notion during the COVID era, but these masks were useless according to the journals of Anthony Fauci. According to the deepest thoughts of Anthony Fauci, these masks were of no use. But some of these people, like the liberal left, I mean, like many people among the liberal left, were suggesting that everybody should be wearing one. They were also suggesting that if you were raw dogging some air during the COVID era or raw dogging some sunshine, then you were some selfish, prick, like again, I mean, like the liberal left flourished under the lockdownisms. Like they got to wag their finger at Trump for not making uh, perfect decisions in the face of a pandemics, and I say that with finger quotes because it wasn't a pandemic to me. I mean, a lot of people were demonizing people that they didn't agree with on the in for during the COVID era, and it's and the censorship that happened during the COVID era too. I mean, mind you, I mean, if you guys don't know, like the Biden administration actually pressured a lot of social media platforms to censor during his administration, and a lot of that was wielded. I mean, by these social media platforms that are largely run by liberal, highly virtuous liberal left lunatics, more virtue than thou liberal left lunatics, were more than glad to censor people that opposed the opinions of Dr. Fauci, that opposed anything that was against the accepted narrative that was being perpetrated by the mainstream media and the COVIDiots of 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. I mean, like, there's still people that, like, feel a lot of comfort from wearing masks. How many morons do we see, like, wearing masks, like driving a car by themselves? I mean, I live in New Jersey now. I mean, I live essentially in what's a suburb of New York City, and I still see, Uber drivers that will have no other person in the car and are wearing a mask. I mean, and if that comes from being scared, like, that was something that, I mean, to be frank, I mean, as stupid as I think that they look, or as useless as I think that that mask goes to service anything that they're trying to block besides their face, or trying to block themselves from a camera or some shit. A lot of that fear that these people still wear masks for in 2026 directly stems from the suggestions that Dr. Fauci was putting out. I mean, and just today, I mean, and this was a bigger dude, a white man, because I mean, everything, liberals only see color. I mean, like, liberals will tell you, I don't see color, but I mean, when you listen to liberals talk, liberals only see color. But just today, I mean, I was buying a grill in Home Depot, and a white man, a large white man, was wearing a mask, and it's just unnatural. I mean, how many babies had to live an existence in which they saw what the human body is acclimated to for thousands of years? Babies, when they see you smile, a lot of times they smile, like, and that could be a baby that's 2 months old. Um, how many of these little kids and babies had their circuitry rewired because now they're seeing masks, like, now they don't know how to react to human beings? How many of these poor kids were, had to endure a whole calendar year of school wearing masks in school? I have two nieces and nephews here in this town that I live in that had to do just that. That had to, like, miss a year of school for all intents and purposes during the COVID era. Nobody, like, kids don't pay attention in online class. What, are you kidding me? I mean, adults don't pay attention in online class. You think school children, like school age 6-year olds, in addition to teachers that, and most of the American population essentially mailed it in during the COVID era. No people stopped giving a shit. I mean, and a lot of that still lingers into 2026. We still are living in the shadows of the COVID era, and I, again, my reasoning for doing live streams is to have conversations about these things. But one thing that I hate in here in 2026 is when I bring up the failings of the last administration, when I have morons tell me that I'm still living in the past. Like, I mean, to me, the past is 5 years ago. I've had open beef with people, like, where it's like pretty much on whenever I see them for over 5 years. I mean, like, do you forget that? I mean, do you forget, like, forget some of Trump shit that happened 5 years ago? I mean, like, not here to defend Trump, but these people would never forget January 6th. I mean, like, it's their pretty much their only talking point for most people. But here in 2026, when I could gladly break down, like, what my thinking is behind a lot of my feelings of the failing of this past administration, of the minced logic of the COVID idiots. um, you know, what you get is a form of trying to censor a MFer, for wanting to talk about things that they feel will, let me see, show comments on stage, eat shit, will punch through the talking points that they constantly regurgitate. I mean, it's pretty sad. I mean, the algorithm is not really favorable to the COVID criticism, not getting much in the way of people blessing the stream this evening. Um, and I'm pretty sure that the little amount of people that are um, listening to this as we speak are likely bots, which I think I have two at this present juncture in my actively listening. Unfortunately, nobody's commenting, but and such is the case, though. I mean, like, I the people that do somewhat frequent my channel, for, with a little bit more frequency, know that I'm my stances on many of these things. Yet, again, like, this is somebody that the liberal left lunatics idolize, and when he has egg on his face as of today, and I mean, Anthony Fauci is going to have pretty much egg on his face in perpetuity after today. And Anthony Fauci, as far as being a presence in the media and whatnot, um, that's donezo as of today. Like, that's not going to happen any longer. You know, um, he's going to kick the bucket, and they'll probably, give him some soft coverage, as to what he's accomplished. But the real Anthony Fauci is a proverbial liar. Um, Robert Kennedy Jr. actually wrote books about medical subjects, or the corruption in the medical industry, if you will, or the science. And he was taking aim at Fauci, and this was going back for many years. I mean, and if you guys don't know the history of Fauci, one thing that people don't know, let me turn on the AC in my room. And again, I have a open. This is a open panel. If I had the ability to use StreamYard where I don't have to pay out of pocket, and I have time left on StreamYard, I'm gonna have open panels. Um, Most times I put open panel. People that disagree with me, are afraid of pulling up. People like that regurgitate, Democrat talking points, can't really stand against the foul player when it comes to having conversing about these things. And most times, I don't even want to debate necessarily. I just want to see what's on people's minds, and if they could actually defend a lot of the vitriol, like, which at times they put out for having a mindset of hating on one man, Trump, as a life policy. You know, a lot of these people have one political stance, and it's basically if Trump is for it, then I'm adamantly against it. You know, and if you have that thinking, it'd be refreshing. I mean, like to see, people contend that logic live and in the flesh. I mean, but again, a lot of people that see that I'm having an open panel are too pussy to pull up. A lot of people that I have normally have open panels, like the channels that I frequent, the Boxing Scholar. I mean, when I come through, he's super scared of having an open panel where I'm allowed to, where either I'm allowed to speak if I even get a chance to make an appearance, or where he's not allowing some ignorant, bomb Quisha type bitch like to censor me by over talking me at a constant, with constantly interrupting and trying to make me pull stats out like on the fly, like you know, like they'll ask stuff of you like on a panel, like for having an opinion that they won't ask anybody else, and it's basically because they're defending Democrats. I mean, like most of the, unfortunately, a lot of black YouTube boxing content creators have gotten into speaking about politics, and it's basically taking bullets for Democrats as far as their content creation goes. It's regurgitating MSNBC talking points, venting. I mean, like these motherfuckers love to vent. Um, you know, you also got my brother Reggie Owens on Boxing Talk More, I think his name is, or his whole channel. Super liberal in terms of giving the link out for his panel. But if I'm in the building and commenting on his channel, he's extremely guarded as to what he's like. Like if he's talking a mess about Trump, that link ain't going out there to the public. I mean, if I'm not in the building, he's pretty much open and pretty liberal as far as putting his link out there, which I give tons of props to. I mean, like in spite of the fact that I don't agree with like these people politically, I give a lot of props to people that make content like many days out of the week. I give props to almost every YouTube content creator or YouTube content creators generally. Even pussy dudes like I am Tro Will, like in spite of the fact that I don't agree with him, like the fact that you constantly put out content, um, I give it up. But it's not. I mean, I'm not gonna fucking give you that much credit. I'll give you credit like I would give somebody credit for being a dad or some shit. But in terms of me putting out content, I know how much of a pain in the ass it is. Like getting in front of a laptop or on my phone to talk to people that I don't really know or see in front of me. It takes it's not like the easiest thing in the world to do. One, but more importantly, sometimes you don't find the time, or I don't find the time. But um, what I don't give these a lot of cats credit for, in spite of the fact that I got love for channels like Reggie Owens, Boxing Talk More, or I think his name is that they act like straight birds when it comes to talking politics. Like the Boxing Scholar, especially lately, my brother, the Boxing Scholar, has been a straight bird when it comes to talking politics. The last time I was there, like on that channel, um, one, he was having some bomb Quisha bitch like overtalk me at a constant with her emotions. I mean, like what like broad shouldn't really be talking like amongst men in most instances. Like to me, like especially if it's just straight emotionally driven, like like so-called minorities, we got a problem with only speaking from an emotional perspective, because I mean, like most of our men nowadays are sounding like straight bitches. I mean, like straight hating. I mean, and a lot of these people political talk is just straight up hate, hating on one politician and hating on any individual that disagrees with their hating on one politician. And again, I mean, like, my my channel link is out there for John Q Public. Whether you agree with me or not, I mean, you're more than welcome to pull up. Actually, I'll put it up again too, just in case, because I don't know if these things are presenting themselves on YouTube. But this is an open panel, of me talking about the God of the COVIDiots, the lion of the liberals, Anthony Fauci, somebody who the Democrat Party was in the last hearing that they had, where Anthony Fauci was before this past hearing. I mean, like every liberal that spoke was basically stroking Anthony Fauci through and through. Today, I mean, when they had this hearing, there wasn't a liberal politician that was present in the building. I mean, and it made for boring watching. Um, Granted, like, but to hear somebody who was so happy to throw himself in front of the cameras, like Anthony Fauci was from 2020 up until recently. And it's no secret. I mean, and this is something that liberals, one of the reasons why liberals lionized or loved Anthony Fauci so much was because he was always opposed to Trump. I mean, Trump didn't appoint this dude. Trump inherited Anthony Fauci, but it was no secret that a lot of people thought that Trump's advice in terms of opening the economy and um, not having a perpetual lockdown was in open contention to what Anthony Fauci and the COVIDiots were suggesting. And I even hear, like, nowadays, I mean, like, because people try to switch it up on you and obfuscate like the reality of what happened in the past. They'll make one blanket statement, and I'm like thinking that you're dumb. But one thing that I hear, like, in terms of trying to revise the history of what happened, 60 months ago or 48 months ago, peak COVID era, which I remember shit that happened in kindergarten. Like, so I'm not going to forget what happened during one of the most pivotal times of America, which was COVID. One thing that I hear people trying to throw at the feet of Trump in terms of trying to blame Trump for shit is like, well, like, Trump locked down the economy. Like, at the end of the day, Trump left it to the states. I know he may have locked down the country for a very short period, but if that's even like was even his call, I can't recite that verbatim. But ultimately, he left it to the states. I mean, Florida, for all intents and purposes, was open during the lockdown. I should know because I was actually in Florida during the lockdown. I was actually, but a lot of people, like the COVIDiots, or a lot of people that are Democrat defenders, they still talk shit about the state of Florida. Oh, there's a lot of idiots that live in Florida. And a lot of that emanates from the fact that it's not because there's a lot of Republicans in Florida. I mean, Florida is one of the most colored states in terms of people's skin palettes in the whole country. I mean, Florida is like New York, especially when you go to the cities. But there's no like boonies for the most part in Florida. Ain't no hick areas like that besides like northern Florida, maybe. Like, I mean, but even there, I mean, Florida's built up tons of money in Florida, and that's been for quite some time. And I've lived in Florida too, at least part time. But many people, even till this day, I mean, like just a year ago, like one of my friend's sisters was talking shit about, like, the people of Florida. I don't go to Florida because of all these Trump people that are down in Florida, and it's not like I mean, like, Florida is like straight up MAGA country. Like, they have a lot of that sentiment because of Florida's stance during the lockdown specifically was to remain open and have people go out in the sun like God intended them to. Never once in the history of mankind has, the body receiving of sunlight been a negative thing, in terms of your health goals, up until Fauci science presented itself. But still, a lot of the negative connotation that people, namely COVIDiots, have against the state of Florida largely is sourced from the COVID era politics or policies that Florida wanted to enact. Now, who made the right decision? I mean, like, you think that California locking down their beaches and asking you for your papers, like if you wanted to go shop, or New York City, like having people arrested at Burger Kings. I mean, so-called black people arrested at Burger Kings in East New York, um, for wanting to go to buy a meal at Burger King, and an overzealous manager is requiring the showing of a vaccine card in order to frequent that Burger King, or which was like happening in New York. It was happening many places in New York. That's pretty much when I've stopped going to New York. It's always been like, and I live, 25 minutes from New York City right now. I mean, you could, if I stick my laptop out the window, you can see the skyline of New York. And I've actually done live streams showing how close I live to the skyline of New York. But again, during the time in which New York was operating on the this fascist state of wanting you to be with a mask, of to go in anywhere, like not like let alone like a regular store, of many stores asking for your papers or for the vaccine card. It pretty much stopped my love affair with the city of New York. Like, I mean, I used to, my whole family. I mean, like, like we would, since we've left New York, it was always like a little bit of a fun little trip to go into New York and run into people like that, like from my neighborhood, and get a haircut maybe. Like, I don't like even setting one foot in New York nowadays. I mean, and unfortunately or ironically, now I go into New York every week for business purposes. But my love affair with New York um, rotted over, and a lot of it really sped up in terms of degradation as to what my opinion is of my hometown during the COVID era. I mean, like, not to say that New York was like this great place, like right before the COVID era, because New York was rapidly falling apart, with the district attorneys not prosecuting morons for committing violent crimes as a policy. But, the COVID era, which in many cases drove people nuts, like drove a lot of people, like, to the brink. It just became somewhere where I didn't like going anymore. And I still like that, feel that way now. I mean, in spite of the fact that I have to go there for business many times, but it just feels like a chore rather than, at times I would go to New York for a day, and, I would drive back home to Jersey and feel a little bit sad, um, to be back in the suburbs. Ain't that way no more. Like, I got much love for the suburb I live in right now. And boy, do I get revulsion whenever a bit of New York City enters into the suburbs. I hate when I like the fact that my neighbors aren't ghetto, but when a little bit of ghetto-ness shows up in my peripheral nowadays, I mean, I do feel reviled in most cases. And I'm ghetto as a mother. I grew up in the ghetto. I grew up in public housing my whole life. Um, and I'm a hood dude through and through. You know, I was out of the house 11, 12 years old with the worst people from Jump Street. Like, if anybody wants to, talk that BS, like I'm some sort of suit and tie, like Republican type. Like, no, that's not the case. One iota. I'm 100% Sixth Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, Sunset Park. You know, till I drop. But you know, do I want to live around any of that shit in 2026? Absolutely not. And it's not nothing, and it has very little to do with politics in most cases. Um, but a lot of times, people will see you, or me, and they think that just because my politics may align in a certain direction, in spite of the fact that I don't vote, that it's basically because one is selling out. I mean, like, meanwhile, these people are more than happy to um, have the politics of some pasty white liberal that's telling them, like, you should be babied for your whole life because racism. But never think opposite of what I suggest that you should be thinking. Otherwise, you're an Uncle Tom. Which is basically the Democrat liberal agenda, like through and through, especially in 2026. The most racist people are always liberals, and the most people that try to um, fall in line the most are liberals. That, like, just one bland glob of shit like that. I mean, in my older age now, and now that I see things for what it is too. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna set trip on somebody for their politics, because I say this many times on this channel that you could vote for whoever you want. It's not typical for somebody who's conservative, let's say, to be like, oh well, you're an idiot. Like, liberals do shit like that. Liberals, if you say, well, I don't think Trump's a bad person, like that, oh well, you must think that, yeah, you are more racist, like, or you must be in line with fascists. You must be a fascist, like that. That's how liberals react to these kind of things. But um, I don't even know what point I was gonna make. See what happens when I do impressions of liberals. I lose myself. But yeah, it's unfortunate, man. Like a lot of these people on YouTube that give their feelings, their fifis, in trying to remix liberal talking points, won't stand on what they constantly put out there, on an open panel, like your man's Surf Out players running. And I think it's kind of like running short of myself too, in terms of trying to remember like a lot of what's transpired. But maybe I'll come through tomorrow in the evening and do another live stream. I still have time on my StreamYard. There's still days in the month of July, so I don't want that StreamYard time to go to waste. So who knows? Maybe I'll come through tomorrow and do another live stream. If not, many of the people that I talk crap about, as far as not their politics, but their lack of wanting proper discourse when it comes to their politics, because they defend Democrats. I still, have much love for a lot of these people, because I watch most of these people every time they're on, like Reggie Owens. Please subscribe to them. Uh, the Boxing Scholar, another good channel. Subscribe to them. My brother Michael Johnson, Boxing Talk and More. You know, much love and subscribe to him too. Uh, my brother Mark Nash, Mark with a Q. Um, you know, again, these are people that put it down on YouTube, so I'll give them credit on that part, and that I also consider like to be. I have no issue with them, or I'm cool with them. Um, and I do, if you happen to come upon this live stream, would like for you to subscribe to these channels, because I do want nothing but success for these channels too. Um, however, they be on some bullshit when it comes to politics, whether it be like not letting somebody talk, not letting somebody pull up to their panel who doesn't agree with them, namely me. I mean, if there's some moron that's purporting Trump stuff, or somebody who caves in, or um, breaks under pressure, or doesn't speak properly, I'm pretty sure they gladly let them pull up and punch holes into them. But much of the guilt tripping that a lot of these people do when they come to like them talking race, because like in their politics, or when it comes to discussing events that have transpired, when it comes to them trying to obfuscate, I have a decent enough memory, and I try to stay in tune with what's happening and what's happened in the past. So I'm a hard target for to have somebody like me, the one of the illest minds, Sir Fauci, pull up to your panel. But with that, I'm gonna cut this short now. I would have stood on for hours. I mean, if it would have been a back and forth, but unfortunately, we're not getting any of that this evening. Dudes are cowards. But anybody who listens to this after the fact, or anybody who's the couple of people that were listening to me throughout the stream, but sadly enough, nobody commented. Nevertheless, I mean, much respect to anybody who will listen to this. Much love to anybody who was on like during the time in which I was on this stream. But with that, I'm gonna be cutting this short now. I do thank you for listening to my content. If the YouTube gods, the algorithm that runs the YouTube gods, happens to put my content in front of you. But with that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the evening. As always, I am Sir Foul Player of Brooklyn. Much love. I hope you guys have a wonderful day tomorrow. Peace.